We will cover the following objective: describe the types of connective tissue found in the body, their characteristics, location, and function. Connective tissue proper is the most common and general type of connective tissue found in the body. The cells are dispersed in a non-living matrix that includes extracellular fibers, an extracellular matrix of fibers, and a liquid ground substance with the consistency of maple syrup. Specialized cells are found in connective tissue proper, called fibroblasts, and fibroblasts mature into fibrocytes. Fibroblasts produce the fibers of the extracellular matrix. Collagen fibers are the large bundles of the protein collagen found in connective tissue proper. There's also smaller branching fibers called reticular fibers, which have a distinct appearance, although they're also made from the protein collagen. And there are elastic fibers that provide the ability to stretch and recoil, which are made from the protein elastin. The fibroblasts produce these fibers, and fibrocytes are the mature cells that maintain the fibers of the extracellular matrix in connective tissue proper. Other cells of connective tissue proper include adipocytes that store fat and provide cushioning, and leukocytes, or white blood cells, that defend against infection and help to clean up debris and clean up damaged tissue. Areolar connective tissue is a type of connective tissue proper. It has a matrix with a fluid gel ground substance and collagen fibers, reticular fibers, and elastic fibers. All three of the major fiber types are found in areolar connective tissue. The cell types include mesenchymal cells, which are a stem cell that produces the variety of cells in connective tissue. Mesenchymal cells can differentiate into fibroblasts that produce the fibers of the extracellular matrix, and fibroblasts then differentiate into fibrocytes. Adipocytes are also found in areolar connective tissue, as well as a variety of leukocytes. Here we can see that areolar connective tissue is a very loose connective tissue proper, where there's lots of space in between the collagen fibers, and the fibers are running in multiple directions. Areolar connective tissue is often found supporting epithelia, for example, in serous membranes. There's areolar connective tissue found underneath the simple squamous epithelium. And in mucous membranes, there's areolar connective tissue found underneath the epithelium. And in the cutaneous membrane, there is a layer of areolar connective tissue found directly underneath the epidermis in what's known as the papillary layer of the dermis.
While the last slide showed areolar connective tissue that had been dissected and teased away from any other tissues, here we see loose areolar connective tissue in the context of the thick skin. This region down here, known as the papillary layer of the dermis, contains loose areolar connective tissue just deep to the epidermis, this epithelial tissue, and it's superficial to a layer of more dense connective tissue called the reticular layer of the dermis.
Adipose tissue is another type of connective tissue proper, where the predominant cell type is the adipocyte that functions to store fat. the cytoplasm is filled with fat globules, and the nucleus is pushed off to the side of the adipose site. The matrix is generally the same as in areolar connective tissue, with a variety of extracellular matrix fibers and a ground substance with the consistency of maple syrup. The main thing that distinguishes adipose tissue is the large number of adipose sites. Adipose tissue is important as a storage of energy, as a fuel reserve, as fat storage. It also functions for insulation to help contain heat within the body, and as cushioning. Adipose tissue is found under the skin in a layer deep to the dermis, known as the hypodermis, or subcutaneous adipose tissue. Just deep to the cutaneous membrane is a layer of adipose tissue. There's also adipose tissue surrounding the kidneys, and in the mesenteries, or in the folds of the peritoneal membrane in the abdomen. And there's adipose tissue in the breasts surrounding the mammary glands. Reticular connective tissue forms the soft supportive skeleton of organs like the liver, bone marrow, lymph nodes, and spleen. The distinguishing characteristic of reticular connective tissue is a large number of reticular fibers. Here's another image of reticular connective tissue, where you can see the branching reticular fibers that run in multiple directions. Dense connective tissue proper forms tendons and ligaments, as well as capsules that surround organs. Dense regular connective tissue has collagen fibers closely packed together, running parallel. These parallel bundles of collagen fibers provide strength to resist a force. These are found in tendons and ligaments. The predominant cells are fibroblasts and fibrocytes. So the distinctive feature of dense regular connective tissue is that all the bundles of collagen fiber are parallel, whereas dense irregular connective tissue has collagen fibers that are randomly arranged, bundles running a variety of different directions in order to resist multiple directions of stress. Dense irregular connective tissue is found in the deep layer of the dermis of the skin, known as the reticular layer of the dermis. It's also found in the joint capsules surrounding joints and fibrous capsules surrounding organs.
Here we see a slide of the skin focused on the dense irregular connective tissue found in the reticular layer of the dermis. Dense irregular connective tissue has tightly packed bundles of collagen fibers running in a variety of different directions. Here's an image of a tendon that contains dense regular connective tissue with tightly packed bundles of collagen fibers that are all running parallel to one another.
Elastic connective tissue is another type of dense connective tissue proper, where there are numerous elastic fibers in order to resist stress of stretching, to allow a tissue to stretch and recoil. For example, the elastic artery, such as the aorta, the largest artery carrying blood out of the heart, has a large number of elastic fibers in its wall in order to allow it to stretch and recoil.
Cartilage is a supportive connective tissue with a firm but flexible matrix. The cells of cartilage are called chondrocytes, found in small spaces known as lacunae. The matrix of cartilage contains proteoglycans, which are collagen proteins modified with something called chondroitin sulfate that helps to give it the firm but flexible consistency. There are three major categories of cartilage. Hyaline cartilage is the most common type of cartilage. Hyaline cartilage is found in the bridge of the nose and covering the end of the bones. Hyaline cartilage connects the ribs to the sternum and is found in rings of the trachea. The matrix of hyaline cartilage has a glassy appearance. Fibrocartilage has a high density of collagen fibers that gives it a strong ability to compress and absorb pressure. Fibrocartilage is found in the annulus fibrosus rings of the intervertebral disc in between the bodies of the vertebrae bones in the spinal column. Another place that fibrocartilage is found is called the pubic symphysis, where the left and right pubic bones meet. Elastic cartilage has a high density of elastic fibers in its matrix. These fibers allow elastic cartilage to be bent and then spring back to its original shape. Elastic cartilage is found in the ear. The external portion of the ear, known as the pinna, can easily be deformed because it has elastic cartilage and it will return to its original shape. Elastic cartilage is also found in the epiglottis, a region of the respiratory tract called the larynx, or commonly called the voice box, has a flexible lid that closes as you swallow to prevent food or drink from entering the respiratory tract. This epiglottis is flexible because it's made of elastic cartilage. One more location that's made of elastic cartilage is called the eustachian tube, which connects the throat to the middle ear.
Here's a light micrograph of hyaline cartilage, where you can see there's a translucent, lightly stained matrix and large lacunae containing chondrocytes. Here's an image of fibrocartilage, where you can see there's a similar appearance to hyaline cartilage, but with numerous bundles of collagen, giving a darker, streaking stain pattern in the matrix. Here's an image showing elastic cartilage with thick bundles of elastic fibers in the matrix, surrounding large lacunae with chondrocytes inside. Bone is another type of supporting connective tissue. In the matrix of bone, there are collagen fibers surrounded by solid calcium salts called hydroxyapatite. The mature cells of bone are called osteocytes, and they're found in chambers called lacunae, similar to the chambers of cartilage called lacunae where chondrocytes are found. Osteocytes, the mature cells of bone, are found within lacunae. The function of bone is to provide structure for the body and protection. And the bones of the skeleton are the primary organs where this osseous tissue, bone tissue, is found. We'll study bone tissue in more detail as we study the skeletal system.
Blood is a fluid connective tissue. It does not contain a fibrous extracellular matrix. Instead, blood cells are surrounded by a liquid that's got a watery consistency known as blood plasma. The major cells of blood are called erythrocytes, or red blood cells, that function to transport oxygen and carbon dioxide. Leukocytes, or white blood cells, help to defend against infection. And thrombocytes, or platelets, are self-fragments that are important for the hemostasis mechanism of blood clotting. Lymph is another fluid connective tissue. Lymph forms from extracellular fluid that drains from surrounding cells into the lymphatic capillaries and eventually is returned to the blood. So lymph has a similar consistency to blood plasma with a lower concentration of protein, and lymph contains leukocytes, but it does not contain erythrocytes.